Iran dominates today's headlines. Conflicts in the Middle East, secret alliances, threats against Israel, and nuclear ambitions that concern the entire world. Yet what most people don't realize is that Iran's story has already been written thousands of years ago in the Bible. From its ancient name, Persia, to its future role in one of prophecy's darkest chapters, Iran's beginning and end were foretold long before modern politics. Today, we're going to walk through this prophetic timeline. From the days of Genesis to the prophecies of Revelation, we will uncover Iran's destiny, its role in biblical history, and its ultimate place in the final events of the last days. Stay with me until the end, because what you read about here is something very few dare to reveal: the true role of Iran in God's greater plan. Section 1. The birth of Persia in Genesis. The story begins in Genesis. After the flood, humanity was given a fresh start through Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. From them, new nations began to rise. Genesis chapter 10 records the first table of nations, a genealogy that maps out the birth of the ancient world. Among those names, to stand out, Madai, a son of Japheth, and Elam, a son of Shem. These two patriarchs became the fathers of tribes that eventually merged into what we know today as the Persian nation. The descendants of Madai settled in the northern mountains of what is now Iran, rugged and independent, forming strong tribal groups. The descendants of Elam occupied the fertile lands in the southwest, near the Persian Gulf. From these two roots, the future empire of Persia would grow. Genesis 14 gives us the first dramatic glimpse of their power. For eastern kings, including Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, invaded Canaan, plundering cities and even capturing Lot, Abraham's nephew. Yet Abraham rose up with only 318 trained men, defeated the kings, and rescued Lot. It was a prophetic message. No eastern power, no matter how strong, could ultimately prevail against the people favored by God. Section 2. Prophecies of Persia's rise. As time passed, Persia grew stronger. The prophets Isaiah and Jeremiah spoke of Persia long before it became an empire. Isaiah prophesied that God would raise up a foreign ruler, even calling him by name Cyrus more than 150 years before he was born. This king would not only bring down Babylon, but would also release God's people from captivity and decree the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem. Jeremiah also spoke of Elam's strength and its eventual judgment, yet promised that in the last days God would restore it. These early prophecies set the stage for Persia's dual destiny, both as an instrument of liberation and later as a nation under judgment. Section 3. Daniel's visions in Babylon. When Babylon conquered Jerusalem, the young Hebrew Daniel was carried into exile. There in Babylon, God gave him visions unlike any other visions of kingdoms yet to come. Nebuchadnezzar dreamed of a statue made of gold, silver, bronze, and iron. Daniel revealed its meaning. Babylon was the golden head, but after it would come another kingdom, symbolized by the chest and arms of silver. Two arms, two kingdoms, joined together Media and Persia. Daniel also saw beasts rising from the sea. The second beast, a bear raised up on one side, symbolized the Medo-Persian Empire, with 3 ribs in its mouth representing its 3 great conquests, Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt. Another vision revealed a ram with 2 horns, Media and Persia, but one horn grew taller, showing Persia's dominance over Media. Daniel lived to see these visions fulfilled when Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon without a battle. In one night, while King Belshazzar feasted with the sacred vessels stolen from Jerusalem's temple, a mysterious hand wrote words of judgment on the palace wall. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Daniel interpreted, "Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians." That very night, Babylon fell. Cyrus then issued the decree. The Jews could return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. Persia, unlike other empires, became the nation that restored Israel, not destroyed it. Section 4. Esther and Persia's protection. Persia's story in the Bible did not end there. Under King Xerxes, known in the book of Esther as Ahasuerus, the empire stretched from India to Ethiopia. In the royal city of Susa, a Jewish girl named Esther became queen. When the wicked official Haman plotted to annihilate the Jews, Esther risked her life to intercede with the king. Her courage turned the tide. Haman was executed, and a new decree gave the Jews the right to defend themselves. What was meant as a day of destruction became a day of victory. Through Esther, God used Persia as a shield for his people. The empire that could have destroyed them became their place of deliverance. The empire that could have destroyed them became their place of deliverance. Section 5. The Magi from the East. Centuries later, Persia reappears at one of the most important moments in history, the birth of Jesus Christ. Matthew tells us that wise men, or Magi, came from the east, following a star. They brought gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Who were these men? Historical evidence points to them being from the Persian priestly class, astronomers and scholars who studied the skies and ancient prophecies. It's very possible they had access to the writings of Daniel, who centuries earlier had lived in their courts. Daniel had prophesied the timing of the Messiah's arrival with precision. When they saw the star, they knew the promised king had been born. Thus, once again, Persia played a role in God's plan, not as an enemy, but as the first Gentiles to honor the Messiah. Section 6. Persia in the last days, but prophecy doesn't leave Persia in the past. Ezekiel 38 gives one of the most chilling predictions of the end times, the war of Gog and Magog. God revealed to Ezekiel that in the last days, a vast coalition of nations would rise against Israel. Among the very first named is Persia. Others include Cush, Put, Gomer, and Togarmah. Many scholars identify these as nations in modern-day regions like Sudan, Libya, Turkey, and perhaps Russia or Eurasia. Together, they will march like a storm against Israel. But the prophecy is clear: this coalition will not succeed. God himself will intervene, sending earthquakes, fire, and confusion. Their armies will fall, and the nations will know that he is the Lord. Here, Persia once again stands in the spotlight, but this time as part of the enemies of God's people. Section 7. Judgment and Redemption. Is that the end of Persia's story? The Bible suggests otherwise. Jeremiah 49 contains a prophecy about Elam, the ancient root of Persia. God declares, "I will shatter the bow of Elam, the mainstay of their might. Yet in the last days, I will restore the fortunes of Elam." This is one of the most surprising promises in Scripture. Persia will face judgment, yet God still leaves the door open for restoration. Even nations that rise against him may one day turn back and find redemption. The prophets Zechariah and Isaiah also describe a future when nations will stream to Jerusalem to worship the Lord during the Feast of Tabernacles. Could Persia be among them? Could Iran, after judgment, also be restored to worship the King of Kings? Conclusion. From Genesis to Revelation, the Bible weaves Persia into the story of humanity's rise, fall, judgment, and redemption. Persia helped Israel rebuild, honored the Messiah at his birth, and will one day stand in opposition to God's people. Yet even then, hope remains. The question is, where are we in this story today? Are we watching prophecies unfold in real time as Iran makes headlines across the world? One thing is certain: the God who wrote history still controls the future. And as prophecy moves closer to fulfillment, every headline reminds us that his word never fails. So I ask you, do you believe Iran is fulfilling its prophetic role today? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let us keep uncovering how today's world events connect with God's ancient plan. If you've been blessed by this video, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Your support helps us continue revealing biblical truths that bring hope in a changing world. Thank you.